Okay, got it. This meeting is being live streamed.
So once we say got it, we're in, or?
Hernán. Hernán.
No, no,
Miriam, estamos en vivo, adelante.
yeah.
Gracias. Okay. We're on, Sarah.
We're live, everyone.
Yay.
Welcome everyone from all over the world, I hope, in many different time zones. We were just talking about the fact that we're wearing jackets here and sweaters, and maybe you're in a major heat wave. But wherever you are, welcome, welcome, welcome to Master Conference. Producer Agustin Guzman, thank you so much for having me here with the amazing Marianne Eddowes from Peru. I'm going to first introduce myself and then turn it over to Marianne because I'm so excited to be in conversation with you and see how this emerges. This is an emergent conversation, so we'll see where the magic takes us. Before we begin, though, I invite everyone in the audience to just roll your shoulders a little bit, get your body into the space. Yeah, maybe your neck needs a little roll. Maybe you need to move your ribs around a little bit, and then an invitation to just take a deep breath and let it out. And just let your body settle. Let your body be a piece of this conversation. Bring your entire being. That's the invitation, to bring your entire being into this conversation with this amazing woman who you're about to meet. And I'm going to say a little bit about myself before I introduce Marianne to talk about Wachuma as sacred medicine and what a sacred, gorgeous medicine it is. I can't wait. Again, my name is Sara Crowell. I'm based in Oakland, California on Ohlone land. And I'm a dancer, I'm a teaching artist, I'm a choreographer. I led a nonprofit in Oakland, California called Destiny Art Center for 30 years. Their mission there is to inspire and ignite social change through the arts. I'm also a spiritual seeker and have been on many paths toward myself, I would say, rather than seeking outward, to seek inward. I now, after 30 years of running a nonprofit, I have my own consulting business called Moving Joy. And I'm sure the title of that is partly, I give credit to the Wachuma, to the medicine, for helping me to understand what that actually means. I now work with many different organizations inside of the Bay Area and beyond, one of which is the Othering and Belonging Institute in Berkeley, another Dance Mission Theater where I help to produce the Liberation Academy, and they're based out of San Francisco. Mostly I say that I bring movement to movements for justice. And now I'm going to introduce you to the incredible Marianne. And Marianne, I've known you for 12 years. I started knowing you because we have family members in common. And you were in my home and in my garden, and we created space for ceremony to happen in those different spaces. And I would say when I met Marianne, this incredible shamanic teacher, I would say like a practical, divine, mystical teacher. And I met Wachuma at the same time, and Wachuma feels like a teacher and a friend. Immediately felt like I resonated with the medicine and like I resonated with you, Marianne. And I would say that Wachuma is a gentle, fierce friend. And my formal introduction of Marianne is that 28 years ago, she began studying and recreating rituals based on traditional medicine from the Andean and Amazonian regions in Peru and also from North America. She performs shamanic ceremonies with Wachuma, as well as sound healing, offerings to Mother Earth, flower baths, and other rituals for the spiritual healing of humanity and the planet. She offers spiritual counseling. Since 2009, she's traveled to the US to offer her healing ceremonies and rituals where she has a growing spiritual community. I am one of your biggest fans in the world of that growing spiritual community. I can't say enough about how Wachuma and your work in this this gentle, playful, joyful way, and also deep, mystical way has touched me, and then touched all the people that I've been able to work with in my social justice circles. And welcome, 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 Marianne. And whatever the muse and whatever the Wachuma has to say through you, I'm so excited to be in conversation with you.
Thank you so much, my dear Sarah. Yes, 12 years. We started at your house with my cousin as well, and it was so much fun and so beautiful. And yeah, that's how we started in the States, and it has grown so much since then, and so many more sisters and brothers in the community now. And of course, Sarah is a very well-known artist and the activist for justice. The work she's done with kids has been incredible, and I'm sure she will continue in this new stage of her life, helping many other people as well through what she can offer. Thank you for being here and for sharing this time with us. So I'll start now. Thank you, everyone, for being with us, for accompanying us. I know we have our fans from Oakland hearing us, and many other friends in the States and in other parts of the world. So thank you to all of you too, Agustin and Hernan, who takes care of all the technological aspects. So we're going to talk today about Wachuma as a sacred medicine. Really, everything in nature is sacred. We are sacred. Everything we do should be sacred, like honoring ourselves in everything we are, we can offer, we say, everything is sacred. But this medicine, known as a sacred plant, I was told many years ago, it came from the Pleiades, from the constellation of the Pleiades. And it had come here to remind us who we are in essence. Star beings, light beings, pure energy. This is our physical temple. So our spirit can be in this third dimension. But one of its purposes is to remind us we are divine essence. We are all one. We are all connected. So whatever we do, say, think, is affecting not only myself, but each one of you and everyone all over the world, and nature, and the animals, and the insects, and everything that is a life being on Earth. The other sacred use it has is medicinal. It is a plant that has come to us to teach us how to learn to know ourselves in our deepest parts. And through that self-knowledge is that we start healing. So the medicinal use is it heals us because it opens our consciousness for self-knowledge. How? Through self-observation. When you drink the medicine for ceremony, that is a bigger dose than microdosing, we will talk about that afterwards, you open to parallel dimensions where you can even open Akashic records and go to past information from you in this life or past lives, from present, from childhood, adolescence, young times, or sometimes it even gives us a hint of the future. Those are like prizes, like gifts, because we've done a good job. The one I can tell you, my most amazing experience around how I can see things, because I've gone to many past lives, to heal things in this life. That is the reason, not to stay in the past, but to bring that information from the past with a different knowledge. And that's how we can heal that as well, because we are understanding what happened, why, etc. And that self-observation that the medicine helps us do. It's like bringing a silence inside, because we're always like thinking, moving, in interrelationships. So we lose sight of how are we feeling. That self-observation helps us look inside and see, how am I feeling? What am I carrying? What makes me react in this way? Why is this relationship so bad in this life with this person, etc., 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 right? So all that information that is stuck in the subconscious levels, this beautiful, gentle, fierce grandfather medicine helps us see things with love, teaches us to love ourselves and embrace ourselves in all we are. That is how we reach self-knowledge, because we can see ourselves with honesty, even in the things we don't like to see about ourselves. But if we don't address them, we are not acknowledging them, we are ignoring them. We think they don't exist, but they are causing problems inside ourselves. So when we can acknowledge and embrace ourselves in all we are, then our self-healing begins. And that is when we continue bringing files to subconscious, from subconscious level to conscious levels, and understand what we were carrying, what the trauma was, what the fear was, what the stagnant ideas were. So there are two, let's say, from the moment the self-healing begins, we walk towards self-fulfillment or inner balance. That means we find a much better space for ourselves to be in, to process things in a healthier way. There are two ways in which I work with this medicine. One is ceremony, and ceremony can be only drinking the medicine, or sometimes we do sweat lodge and ceremony, because the heat helps us go into a deeper emotional catharsis. And with the medicine, with Wachuma, both medicines, sweat lodge and Wachuma. And the other combination we also like to work with, Agustin is the one that started with these options, is hot springs. Drink the medicine, go into the hot springs, which are the amniotic liquid of Mother Earth. When we go into a sweat lodge, we're going into the womb of Mother Earth to be reborn to a new stage in our lives. And the combination of both Wachuma and either hot springs or sweat lodge is amazing. And the other way is microdosing. Microdosing, something that also Agustin started, is amazing for me to peel deep trauma, deep fears, when there are those, because the idea is that people trust the medicine and can go deep inside themselves, and that nothing bad is going to happen to them, but many good things, maybe, for sure, right? So it is important to be able to do that connection, right? So microdosing is excellent for the things I just mentioned, and also for people, for example, women that cannot become pregnant. Personally, I believe that all the problems that reflect in our physical body have to do with our spiritual, mental, and emotional bodies. And that the physical reaction is like the red alert that something has to be acknowledged inside. Your spirit is craving for attention, because it's the spirit that brings also the gifts and also the imbalances from past lives. And in each life, we're supposed to like get better. The same with our gifts. We are like dancers. We have been that in the past life. In this life, we're supposed to be like better, like excel in that. That is the idea. And the medicine definitely helps us to bring our gifts out and offer them in service. We have no right to keep our gifts for ourselves or to hide them because we're ashamed, because we don't feel we know what to do with them. Well, this medicine guides you and teaches you how to offer them. We all have different medicine. We may learn from our teachers, but we are not going to do exactly like our teachers because they have their own medicine and each one of us has its own medicine. So what this beautiful plant medicine does is guide us into developing our own medicine. And that's what I have learned and done throughout these 28 years. So it is important when you approach this medicine, first, that the person guiding the medicine ceremony, if necessary, talks with you previously to see how are you at psychological and emotional states. How are your fears and doubts? How are your traumas? How is your willingness to really open to the medicine? We are the ones that we are our own obstacles. The medicine always wants to help us. But when we are resisting, the medicine cannot push us to see what we need to see. But we will start having maybe physical discomfort or just thinking, oh, nothing is happening because we are not allowing the medicine to work with you. And for me, it's not about drinking a lot of medicine, but drinking enough so you can connect with it, but in a way that it is gentle, and so you can go deeper. If you are worried about the vibration of the medicine, you get distracted instead of going deeper into yourself. And that's what I love about this medicine, the gentleness and that connection where you just like flow with it and it starts giving you whatever information you need. It will always give you what you need, not necessarily what you want. And the physical state is also important. Like, how is your health? How is your diet? Wachuma is much benevolent around what you ingest or eat, different to ayahuasca. But for me, the respect to the medicine, to the spirit of the plant, deserves for us to make efforts and prepare our bodies and our spirits in a good way before coming to ceremony, which includes dieting of a few things like no alcohol, no red meat, because it's heavy and all your energy needs to go into digestion. No coffee, tea like caffeine, no in the Wachuma's case, there is no problem in taking medications. Like if you use antidepressants or pills for sleeping or for thyroid, for different things. Usually I talk with the person lets me know. In general, I check with the person, but what usually happens is the medicine says you can take your medications until the day before ceremony. The day of the ceremony, I recommend don't take it in the morning. You can continue at night after we're done the ceremony. Why? Because it's amazing how the ceremony teaches you that you can feel much better without the medication, just working inside yourself, just processing things that are causing situations in your body, in your mind, etc. Right? Excuse me. So how do we go into ceremony? How do we approach a ceremony? How is the working process through a ceremony? It is important to come with intentions, but no expectations. So you set up your intentions. And you just ask the medicine to guide you and allow you to see what you're ready for, what you're ready to work with, to understand, to forgive, to release, right? When we have expectations, what happens? If they don't happen in the way we expected, we get frustrated. And then we will have to get defrustrated. New words. So, so the thing is that why should we lose our energy when we need it? Because we need a lot of energy that we don't realize to do our spiritual work. How do we know how much energy we have used in our healing? Is the way our body feels the following day. Not in a bad way, tired, maybe a little drained, but not in a bad way. You feel you have released, you're lighter, but it is important to allow your body to rest and recover one day. The following day, you're perfect and even better than before doing ceremony, right? So, intentions. You approach the medicine with respect because it's a spirit that connects with your spirit. It's not like, oh, I drink the medicine and that's it. No, it's a spirit that wants to work with you because you are called to the medicine. You don't look for the medicine. The medicine calls you when you are ready. Any medicine. There are many different types of medicine. Wachuma is the one I work with, and I am so grateful to this medicine forever. So my respect and my love are eternal. And that's the way we should approach any spirit, even the spirit of a mountain. We have to be respectful because if we are not, they take care of giving us a good lesson. Yeah. So faith in yourself, faith in the medicine, faith in the universe, faith that you have been brought to that point because you're ready to do your inner job. Integrity. This medicine teaches us so much about integrity that there is no way you cannot be in integrity. There is no way, because the medicine will slap you on the face and say, you already learned this, practice, because that's the idea. What you learn, you may be like very clear in your mind, but the work we have to do is to bring it in to our hearts, to understand it through feeling, not thinking, and letting all our cells, molecules, and atoms impregnate with that energy. Acceptance of what we cannot change is what this medicine teaches us about as well. Acceptance of don't lose your energy in what doesn't depend on you. We tend to try to fix other people's problems, to try to fix or force situations because we think that's what we need, that's what we have to do, that's where we have to. No. When we learn, instead of forcing, surrendering to the medicine, we open many doors for tons of things to come to us than when we try to control and to make things be one way. When we lose control, we are not losing our power. We are stopping all the limitations we're putting when we are controlling and open the information that is there for us. Throughout all this process, breathing is very important, always. Breathing, as you taught at the beginning, breathing in and then exhaling from deep inside you. You know, at least 3 times, 7 times is ideal, and you'll get back into your center. We don't notice how bad we breathe until we're like, but when we really breathe in a good way and exhale all what we don't need to carry anymore, then our energy starts shifting and we start like slowing down and bringing peace inside ourselves. As I told you, this medicine teaches us to look at ourselves with honesty. It is like, this is you, this is you. It's like, no, I don't, this is you. So no hiding from ourselves, right? No hiding from ourselves. Otherwise, we are just fooling ourselves, really. If we are taking the time to be with ourselves, like me with myself, you with yourself, let's make the best of it, not lose time and money and energy that we are putting into it and not getting the best of it, right? Forgiveness. Everything starts with ourselves. The medicine teaches us to love ourselves more. Therefore, if I love myself, I have to start by forgiving myself as well, which is the hardest part. But if we cannot forgive ourselves, we cannot forgive others. We would be lying to ourselves, saying, I'm forgiving you, but I am not really, because I cannot forgive myself. The same with loving myself, the same with looking at myself with honesty, accepting things as they are, and just understanding more than what we have understood until now. The medicine expands our state of consciousness, right? It gives us that expanded state. So as Agustin would tell people when they ask him, how long does the medicine work? He would say forever. Because once you take the medicine, that spirit is connected with your spirit forever. You may forget it is connected with you, but you may remember anytime you need strength, you need clarity, you need focusing, calming down, whatever, you call upon this medicine and it will be there to help you. It also enhances your senses. When you drink the medicine, it's like that clarity that comes to you and you can see things like crystal clear. And it helps you find the answers that you need, that are inside you. We are losing our time when we try to find answers outside, on others, on books. I mean, they may be guides. There is always good information, right? But the truth is, the answers that we really need to walk in our lives is inside ourselves. So when we can do that, we again make our lives easier. So this medicine has many benefits because it doesn't only heal us and remind us we're divine essence, but it also can give us information about our paths, about our profession, about our gifts, how to shift when it is the time, and in an easy way, like detachment. That one is not easy, no, but we can do it. Like little by little, we start detaching and we see how attached we were to so many things. We are attached emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, right? So when what I love and what I always say is, for me, this is the path for self-empowerment. That means I get my power back. I stop giving it to others to use it instead of me being, the one forwarding that energy and complementing and working in community and all that, because it's not about I work by myself. We are in community and we are community people. So that's the other thing. So when we heal ourselves, we are healing others. When we heal others, we are healing ourselves as well. It helps with addictions, alcoholism, drugs, and again, so many addictions now. The PlayStation, all these video games, that is wow and violent and all that. And I've heard and seen how it can affect, even give you, I, how do you call it? Like epilepsy of being all the time there, no?
Yeah.
So it's important that also those who still have kids, like dosify that in a way that is not damaging to them, and that they understand that is not their only world. Their world also is nature, also are many other things and activities, not only video games, no? Addiction to sex, addiction to food, addiction to so many things. So what is addiction? Where is the addiction? It's inside ourselves. It's not in what we use. It's in how we use it and how we let it run our lives instead of us being in charge of our lives, right? But addictions, what do you do? It is filling in emotional gaps with other things instead of healing those addictions. Like, okay, I have emotional gaps. I will fill them in with alcohol. I will fill them in being drugged all day. And drugs, I mean more like chemicals, not plant medicine, right? So it is important that we acknowledge that instead of, so many people say, I'm all right, I have nothing, I just drink socially. But you are lying to yourself, because you're drinking 1, 2, 3 beers every night. So that is not socially. You are drinking by yourself every day, right? So this medicine helps us see, stop fooling yourself. This is what you're doing, and this is damaging all your relationships, right? So pregnancy, I think I didn't finish about pregnancy. So Wachuma is excellent when there are women with blockages to become pregnant. Again, for me, the blockages are inside them, not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. This medicine helps us go through all those blockages. And suddenly they are pregnant. I just received news, like 2 or 3 women that are pregnant. So happy to continue seeing Wachuma babies coming. And it always works, when it is what has to happen. Again, we we sign up for all we're going to experience in each life. Sexual blockages. This medicine is amazing to unblock the base chakra. We all have sexual blockages in some way. Some are deeper, more traumatic, some are not, but the medicine helps us go over those sexual blockages and have a normal sexual life, right? Because it's terrible not to enjoy whatever you do, in general, right? Emotional and mental blockages, of course. Spiritual blockages is what this medicine is going to help us release: fears, trauma, doubts, and stagnant ideas. Physical issues will get better when we do all that job that I just mentioned, right? Shifting our perspective of how to live our lives is what this medicine teaches us. It's awakening dormant neurochannels, receiving first-hand information directly from the plant. No, not in books, not elsewhere, directly. It's a personal teacher. Each person is going to experience different with the medicine because we are all different human universes. We may have similar experiences, but we all experience what we need. It's not about comparing, oh, she saw this, I need to see it. No, you're losing your time. What is for you is for you. What is for that person is for that person. So don't lose your time. Focus on what you need, right? The dream state. This is a plant that works a lot through dream state. Dreaming is another real dimension where you can also process things. And it helps you have more lucid dreams, maybe. Or you go out in astral and do your work. But it can be either, right? But in an easier way and deeper and all that. So courage gives you the courage to look at what you don't want to look, to accept what you don't want to accept. It gives you creativity because we are all creative, but when we are full of, blockages, our creativity is like sunk. So we have to clear it, right? And then it shines again. And the inner strength to go through whatever we need to go through. I am so, so grateful for that with this medicine. I don't know if I would be here if I hadn't learned about that inner strength. We all have it. It's just embracing it, What happens after a sacred encounter with the medicine? There are self-expectations, of course. One is digestion. While you're in medicine, don't try to understand everything. Just let all the information, images, whatever comes, let it in. At that moment during the 8 hours of ceremony. When you go back home, you will start digesting all you have experienced, and we'll see how things change, open, something that you were expecting starts coming because you have cleared your energy. You have cleared your paths. So you start seeing, bearing the fruits of your effort because it is your effort. We healers are guides. We healers have walked ahead, a little ahead of you maybe in this path, but we are human beings like everyone else. We have our own personal processes. We can have our crisis too, but we just have to remember the crisis means growth. Crisis is not bad. Depends on how you handle it, right? But recently, like 2 months ago, I was in conflict with myself suddenly, and I was, oh my God, what is going on? 28 years in this path, and I know all what I know, and I am just like, I don't understand. Again, I took my Wachuma, did ceremony with myself, and I could do whatever I needed to do to go back into balance. Because again, it's not that we're always like in because life is life and brings a lot of things and challenges and tests, etc. Right? So patience is part of what this medicine teaches us. We have to be patient with ourselves. We don't have to push ourselves to be where we are not ready. We have to learn to walk accompanying ourselves, not pushing ourselves, right? So I was very impatient. We are Taurus, Sara and I, we're both Taurus, so we know about that. And it's amazing the patience I've learned to develop with myself in first place, because if I cannot be patient with myself, I am not going to be patient with anybody else. So again, it all starts with ourselves. So it's been quite interesting, and I'm grateful that I've learned that, it's not slowing down and being like slow. It's slowing down to be more conscious of every step, every word, every thought, every action, really. And how in the way we do, say, speak, feel, positive, negative, that is the energy we are generating to come back to us, right? It brings a bigger understanding of life, of how can I live my life and process whatever comes in a healthier way without like bringing myself down, right? doesn't mean we are not going to honor our feelings, any feelings. We have to honor them. But how long do we want to stay in them if it is not helping us go ahead? And if we cannot change what has happened or the situation, and that it doesn't depend upon us. So putting our energy where it is productive is what this medicine teaches us, and stop losing our energy. Personal growth. We will see how our life changes the more we embrace ourselves, we empower ourselves again, and we stand in our truth, in our center, in our hearts. Because this medicine is a heart opener and a mind opener. Because it teaches us about what happens and what we can see in parallel dimensions, which is real, even more real than this reality we have created with our minds, this third dimension. So it teaches us about a lot of things. I've seen sometimes, like once they were showing, I was in an ancient site in Peru, and we were doing ceremonial through the night, and suddenly they were showing me how it looked in ancient times. Not how it is now, but how it was in ancient times. No? And it can teach you about planets, about the cosmos, about portals, many things. Because we know all this. But when we come into these bodies in this third dimension, it's like all that information that we have goes dormant. This type of medicine helps us open those channels again and allow us to access all that information. This medicine teaches us basically to simplify our lives. We complicate our lives here. Here it is simple. When we can learn to trust our hearts, we will align our minds with our hearts instead of being pulled to both sides and not knowing where to go. And it teaches us that surrendering is not being defeated. Surrendering is stop fighting or like swimming against the tide and flowing with the cosmic energy, with the universe that takes care of us in all aspects, if we allow the universe to take care of us and open the doors, right? So I think for now, I guess there should be questions. Thank you. Sara, if you'd like to add anything. Yeah.
I'm just wow. I'm so vibrating just even hearing your voice and hearing you talk about it. And I just invite our audience once again to take a breath and just let it in. That the medicine has taught so much. It's true. We're both Tauruses, so we're not. I don't think our patience is in our nature. It's stubbornness. It's let's get it done now. And the medicine has taught me so much about patience. So and about listening, about deep listening, and really listening and letting the vibration of your words come into my body. And I have so many questions. I just want to point out a few things to our folks because Marianne, you have such this gentle way of talking about self-love and self-acceptance and detachment. It's very practical. Like I want to pull forth what you said, surrender is not defeat. Just like marinate on that. Surrender is not defeat. Like leaning back into the wisdom that exists in our own beings that we have access to is not defeat. It's access to something magical and mystical and practical. And also the attachment piece that you shared, you know, to be detached is not to not be uncaring. And I think people associate that with uncaring. Like, how do we stay in a space of great love without attaching? Because I know when I attach, then I have an agenda. You know, I want somebody to do something the way I want them to do it. And the medicine really has that effect. While I'm in the medicine, I'm feeling this sense of great love and knowing that everyone has exactly what they need, and I don't need to go rescue people. I need to just stay present with myself. It's uncanny and it's hard to describe that. But I have a question for you. Because you really, as a practical healer and as a like a streamlined healer, which I think is so important because we get so heady. It's like we can read it all, like what you said, you can read so much wisdom in books, but we're finding wisdom here. Tell us a little bit of how, how did you find the medicine? What was your journey? I know some about your story about how you were, doing very high level governmental jobs in Peru, and you completely surrendered to a different path. And I think the audience would really like to hear some of that.
Yeah, well, it took me a little while to completely surrender. Yeah. Oh, I was 36, and I was in the summit of the job, the money, the importance of who I was at that point because of the job, basically. And then in doing that job for the government in 1994 is when I met my teachers. I didn't look for this path. I was just shouting to the universe, help, I want to be happy. I'm not happy. Why? I have everything to be happy. So that is how the teachers came to me and the medicine came to me. They say that when you are ready, the teachers come to you. And that's how it happened for me, more than me looking for this path. I had no idea about this path. I had never been in touch with this path. And suddenly, for some strange reason, I didn't think it twice. And I was just like, they invited me and I was just saying, just, okay. And I was like, oh my God, like, because I was one of the most fearful persons before this path. I was fearful even of the dark and of many things, no? And yeah, it's been a very interesting path. At the beginning, it was like, but how am I going to earn money? Like, I have 3 kids, 2 at that time when I started in 1994. What am I going to do to generate the money? La la la. But the universe took care of closing all the other doors for me and saying, you're done with this. You get out of here. And the person with whom I was working, she just had come in like a few months before, and who was my boss left. And she hated me since the first time without me knowing until now why she hated me so much. Although I can guess she doesn't like anybody to shadow her. How do you call it? Like to be...
Overshadow her, yeah.
Yeah, overshadow her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's what happened really. And what is interesting is, like, at the beginning I was so pissed off the way she had treated me after me organizing an event for 2,000 people, 2,000 tour operators, la la la. She couldn't fire me because all the board members trusted me completely. I was in the general coordinator of a 2,000 people event with fam trips and with social events and conferences and a lot of stuff, lodging, transfers, blah, blah, blah. So it was when I left and I started taking this medicine, I found I had to thank her. Instead of hating her, I had to thank her because the universe had used her as a channel to take me out of that corporate world that was killing me and was making me unhappy, not because of what I did. I love organizing events, but because of the people around me, the interests, all that thing. No, so she was, the channel that the universe used to take me out of that path, because I was not going to leave a good job, a good salary, having kids and all that. So it was like the universe said, you're not doing it, we're doing it for you. So that's how I started in this path, and I don't regret a single moment. Um, Not easy, but I really love doing service. I really love what I do. I really love seeing people getting better, improving the quality of their lives, right?
Mm.
And understanding
Yeah,
more.
yeah. I mean, I've been, doing ceremony with you at least once a year for 12 years and had so many expansive experiences. And I mean, the stories you've told of when you began the medicine and what you had to let go of, all of us have like when you're sharing about each of us have our own individual universe. I love that you said that. And it's true. And I think the medicine has helped me understand that too, and understand that my journey is my own, and it's also deeply connected to everyone else. So it's like it's both. That's the magic, I think, of spiritual detachment, is that, oh, this is my own journey and it's scary, and yet I'm deeply, deeply connected. And I want to ask you, like, if you're willing to tell a story of like being in the jungle and being with the medicine, and the way that you entered into the medicine was very dramatic, and very separate, like such a turn from your life as an executive event planner for the government, and dealing with money and power rather than spirit and power, rather than connection and power, rather than being connected to the earth and then thus understanding your own internal power. But tell us some stories. Tell us the story of being in the
Um,
jungle and
yeah, well, in the mountains, I'll tell
in the mountains.
my first big lesson about humbleness. Being a corporate woman and so good at doing events, I felt entitled, like,
Mm.
wow. So, so I could be a little too much sometimes. So once with my teachers, we were out in a canyon, which is the Tinahani Canyon, where we're going now in August with some of our friends from Oakland.
Mm.
This is an amazing canyon with rock formations. You can see masters, a lot of things you can see there.
Mm.
And the Akashic records are there. It opens you Akashic records. So we went with a group from Sweden, I remember, with one of my teachers, and we camped there overnight. It's really cold, up like 12,000 feet high.
Wow.
Uh, and we were camping in the open, around all these amazing rock formations. And we drank Wachuma at night. And suddenly my teacher says, look at that mountain. That master wants to talk with you. So
Mm.
I looked at the mountain. It was this big mountain and this big face on the mountain. And I was like, no. And I was like, suddenly I was lying flat on my tummy on the ground, my face on the ground. And I was the type of person that didn't like to get dirty.
Mm.
So I was like flat, completely flat. And I was like, oh, that was like, hi, yeah, don't look like that. Now start, like instead of looking like this.
Right. I mean, but I've experienced with the medicine and other spiritual connections that I've had is that prostration, that like flat on the ground, that saying that's humility. It's sort of humility personified, right? Like
Exactly.
flat out like this. And I had this vision once of being flat like that, and then wind coming underneath me, and then I'm in the position of flight. So humility as a form of flying, like that, we put down the arrogance, we put down the posturing, we put down the desire to be better than, and we get humble enough, and that's a journey too. I mean, I was in public facing positions and still am, and so I had a deep desire to approach my work from a place of service, and yet the temptation to 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 step into, like, I mean, when I was an executive director at a nonprofit, and then decided I wanted to demote myself to artistic director at the organization that I was helping to run. I remember the moment that my title changed, people stopped calling me for expert advice.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, my title mattered so much, even though
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I am the same person with the same knowledge, but my title made that difference. And I thought it was magical to understand that. Like, wow, what a revelation that people are looking towards my title rather than
Yeah.
feeling into what they feel next to me, right? I think the
Right.
medicine reveals that in so many ways,
Oh,
that
yes.
that surrendering gives us the access to flight.
Yes, exactly. Yes. It's amazing the way the medicine gives you beautiful lessons in a loving way, but like very, this is like this. So, stop fooling around. And the other thing is being vulnerable. We're always
Mm,
afraid of being vulnerable, that people are going to take advantage of us or look at us like down, right?
yeah,
At us. But what this medicine teaches us again is being vulnerable is not being available for anything to come in. Vulnerability, we can be vulnerable and show that vulnerability when we have our boundaries clear. This is what I allow and accept. This
right.
is what I don't need in my life anymore.
The
And then
medicine
you,
is such a great teacher that way, isn't it?
exactly. And when you were talking also about the position, when I quit from Peru, I was just like Mary and Eddowes again, and not the
Mm,
director of tourism and special events. So again, nobody would call me, nobody would invite me anymore anywhere. But I didn't feel bad about it. It was like, how interesting. I like it because people were looking for me because of the position I had. Now
right,
people will come to me because of me.
right.
So that shifted a lot also.
I
Titles,
love that.
titles don't make you better or more
Mm,
important, really. That's just the ridiculousness we are used to.
mm,
But you can be the president of the country, or you can be the one that sweeps the streets. We all deserve to be seen. We all deserve to be recognized and acknowledged
yeah,
because we
yeah,
are all humans, not because of the position I have.
exactly. I mean, I love the story of the janitor who worked in the White House when Obama was president, and someone came in for a tour of the White House, and they said, "Oh, what do you do here?" And the janitor says, "I help the president make sure that things are smooth." He understood his role. To me, his role is just as important as the president's, right? That
Mm-hmm.
they're working in collaboration to run the country. That
Mm-hmm.
each role is as important. I love that. I love
Yes.
that. And I wonder if you can tell more stories, if you have more stories of your experience, like in entering um, your role as a shamanic healer, because you went from an event planner with a fancy title to a healer that travels the world and brings us medicine in this very like sort of um, I don't know, I call you like an there's this, I say practical and joyful and playful and impish and like I'm gonna find that little space. It's like I'm gonna trick you into finding your power, to find your own power. Like say more about like that journey, from maybe past life experiences, whatever you would like to share.
Yeah. Well, um, I used to do a lot of going back to past lives.
Mm,
Um, and I was getting stuck in that. Like, I want to see more and
mm,
I want to see more. No? Because we are supposed to go to past lives to find answers, to heal things or improve things in this life, not to stay in the connections of that past life,
right.
right? So in one ceremony, one of my teachers, we were out in the mountains. He was seeing that I was getting like too much into regressions. So that day, I don't know how many lives he took. Like every time he looked at me, I was like, oh no. And it was like the whole day, like, I don't know, like 30 past lives, I think. A man, a woman, native, like, tons of different things. And it was like, after that ceremony, I said, okay, I'm done with going to past lives. Thank you. I learned the lesson.
And so you feel more like if you have a little inkling of a past life that it's really, you feel more grounded. You got over that in that 30 lifetimes, like
Yeah. Well, the thing
all
is
of that.
that I have met people here in this life that have been with me in some of those past lives.
Mm.
So, and I know who they are. I mean, I've seen the connections and I know who they are. But there was one that I was getting stuck in that relationship, and it was not good for me. It was interesting because being who I am and the way I am, suddenly I had given all my power away to a person. And I was like, oh my God. Like it was like, I don't know, 94. Like I was already like 10 years in this path, 10 years that I had been learning, healing myself, apprentice with my teachers. So I got stuck in this relationship that where I was like just giving, and then receiving crumbs. And I was like, since when I put myself into such a disadvantageous position, right? But I did. And I had to look at that. And it took me a few years to get myself together and say, I'm not doing this anymore. This is my energy. This is my power. And I guess that is when I really like dedicated all my energy to walk in this path and get better in what I was doing.
Mm. Tell us about, speaking of past lives, in ceremony, in sound healings that I've experienced with you, you channel voices, different voices come through you and sing. So for our audience members, there may be drums or rattles or flute-like wind instruments that she plays, and there's feathers, and there's this sense that you're, as a person in the space, immersed in a journey that you're taking us on. And in that journey, you often channel voices that have different tones. They feel like different genders, different cultures. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Well, again, the medicine teaches you what you need to know or what you're ready for, what your gifts are. And when the first thing that came to me when I started when I was 36 in this path, when I was 40, I started receiving shamanic dance. That was the first thing before the songs. And they told me and they explained me that that type of shamanic dance, a healing dance, was to help and clear energies through movement. Me doing the dance and clearing other people. You can cry. I mean, you feel a lot with that, which was amazing, interesting. And they told me that the spirits told me that that type of shamanic dance was done in ancient times by women when they were starting their 40s because they needed life experience to understand moving the energy and all that. And so that was the first thing I received. It was amazing. I would dance with feathers or rattles or just, my
Scarves, I've
body,
seen stuff.
incense.
With
Sometimes.
fabric, yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So yeah, with different things. Yeah, you've seen. So that's how I started. And then a few years later, after I completed, let's say, the cycle of learning with other physical teachers, the plants were the ones that continued teaching me directly. And they they taught, I started channeling. Like first I was like accompanying one of my teachers. I couldn't learn the words of her songs, which was very interesting. I never felt them.
Mm,
I felt they didn't belong to me.
mm,
And suddenly, after I finished all that, I started receiving those different spirits that I channel when I sing. That, as you say, I can be an old man, a young man, a woman, younger, older, or they can change sometimes. Like African spirits come
mm,
sometimes, local spirits like Native American when I am there in the States or here in the different ancient sites where I go. I have like spirits that are always with me, but there are others that come when I go to different sites and they want to sing through me. Once I had this very funny experience in San Diego in California. Uh, my friends had rented this beautiful house at the top of the mountain, and there was a big lake down, and people were on their boats, etc. At one point, um, I was seeing canoes with Native American Indians instead of what was I seeing with my physical eyes.
mm.
And I started singing, but suddenly I was like changing, my voice was changing every 5 seconds, like one spirit, the other spirit. Like they were all so happy that somebody was doing ceremony in that space
Mm.
again, that they all wanted to sing through me. And I was like, please wait one by
One
one.
at a time.
Yes. So it was funny because then this song came to me, and when I finished, one of the people in the ceremony says, "You just sang a song to peyote," and I said, "I did." I have no idea. Like, So this is
Wow.
more than thinking. It's just again feeling, opening to be a good channel, and again, that's where humbleness comes in. You if you cannot be humble, you cannot be a good channel because you think you have to do something to show yourself, and you don't. You just have to be a good channel for the energy and the spirits of light that want to come through you, the doctors of light that come and help. No, you become that good channel, which doesn't mean
Mm,
you're not doing something. You are. But again, it's not about inflating your ego with what you're doing, but just feeling filling your heart with all what is happening and how people are shifting, understanding, and healing, right?
mm. That was beautiful. And I mean, anyone who's been in your presence has felt like transported to different spaces. And in fact, with the voices that come through, and I love that you're in a space of humility to go, come on through. I don't know what it is. I don't know who you are, but I'm willing as long as the energy is good. And it always feels healing. And I was thinking about what you said about healing addictions and healing trauma. And I'm reminded of a ceremony that I did with you in my own backyard, um, where it was a couple hours into the ceremony, and began to move my hips in front of a fire. And then I could feel a song coming, and I could feel that I was conjuring another lifetime. And I don't like to get attached to like, oh, this is so interesting, to like this past life, how is it gonna heal this moment? But I had three lifetimes that I saw, and I'm just gonna share them really quickly. The first was, I was an African woman, um, very, very dark skinned, and I was a protector of my tribe. So I had a dagger, but I was relaxed and I loved my skin. I loved how black I was. I loved who I was in my body in this very delicious way. And I knew that if anyone stepped to anybody in my tribe, that I was going to get their bag. I was a protector.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next life, I was on a slave ship, and I was being transported from Africa
Mm-hmm.
to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of my family lives in Charleston, South Carolina, which was 75% of American enslaved Africans were brought through Charleston,
Yeah.
that port. And I was on a slave ship, and I was a mother, and I had children, and I also had a dagger, and I had made it to the top of the boat, that's the ship. And I was like slashing, trying to get anybody, because I was not going to let my children or me be enslaved. And as soon as I knew that I was defeated, I threw my children overboard and I jumped in myself, and I could feel myself swimming toward the light, toward home. And then the third one, I was in America. I was an enslaved person. And I don't say slave because that's an identity. I say I was enslaved. And I was underneath the master. I was being raped by the master. And I was looking in his face, and I was thinking in my head, you can take my body, but you cannot steal my dignity.
Yeah.
And so those three stories for me, as an African American woman, as a queer person who's played and travels through my gender identity, it held all these places in me that healed. I felt after that ceremony that there was a piece of my post-traumatic slave syndrome that was resolved, that trauma was resolved, because I got to live it and then see myself enter into those spaces. And the third one being, I have ancestors who were enslaved Africans, of course, and to know that my dignity could not be taken,
Yeah.
that my soul could not be taken, like the Beyonce song, "You Can't Break My Soul." Like, that is exactly what the medicine taught me in that moment. And then actually after that ceremony, I didn't have much in terms of past life experience in those ceremonies. It was more like, what's this? What is the joy of this flower? Like, how is this present moment so delicious? Like the last ceremony that I had with you, which was just a few weeks ago, in the sharing at the end of the circle, a woman said it was that she was describing her experience, that she had space to savor a strawberry. And that moved me. Like, I was just tears, and every time I talk about that experience, it brings this tenderness to my heart, because it's really about each moment being so precious and having access to it. And that's what the medicine has taught me. That's what
Yes.
your work, the way that you work with the medicine, has given me access to that. And so for that, I am forever grateful. The medicine is forever. And the work that you've done with those of us who've had the honor to be in your space, that's what has given us access to ourselves and access to the present moment.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
yes, thank you. And that's about joy, about happiness. What is happiness? And this medicine really teaches you about feeling joy.
It does.
Right? But it also has taught me that happiness doesn't come from outside, from others, from things. Happiness comes from inside. Happiness is being at peace with your life, with everything you've had to experience. And that is a very big part of what this medicine teaches us.
That's beautiful. And it's like, it removes the obstacles to your understanding of that. That's what it feels like, in a gentle way. I mean, and not always gentle. Sometimes it's fierce. Tell us a story about when that sort of the gentleness versus the fierceness of the medicine, and ways that you've had big experiences, if you'd like to share.
Yeah. Well, once I was with one of my teachers in Machu Picchu, at the base of Machu Picchu, where the river is, the sacred river, and there is a place to camp. We were with a group of 13 people from Sweden. I was translating for my teacher and, of course, training. No? That day in the morning in Lima, I took a shower, and when I go out of the shower, I sleep, and my ribs fall against the bathtub that was very like an old bathtub made of metal. So I just bumped and bounced on the floor,
Oh,
and I was like, it was 6 in the morning. My kids were sleeping. My husband was sleeping. I was still married by then. So I was like calling him, I cannot breathe. So he held me up. I had to travel to Cusco. I said, I'm going. I cannot, I mean, he's waiting with that group. I have to go. So I arrived in Cusco and I was like, don't touch me because like everything was hurting. So I went to my teacher's house. He put me like a pad to hold uh, the ribs, and we had to go to Machu Picchu. We climbed, we walked. I don't know how I did it with that, just with the pad on my ribs. And at night, we had ceremony all through the night. 13 people. We made 3 rounds with each person. Like I was going to be kneeling down, standing up all night. And before that, like at 7 at night, we were all resting. We started like 10 p.m. So I had the Wachuma was liquid by then, and I had it by my side. We were out watching the stars, the moon. Well, my teacher was sleeping, and I was watching the moon and the stars. And suddenly, I heard crack so loud that my teacher woke up and looked at me like, and I was looking at him like, somebody fix my ribs. The medicine fixed my ribs. I swear, I worked all through the night, standing up, kneeling down, like 40 times, I think. And I was okay. I never went to the doctor, and I've never had pain.
wow.
But it was like, or broken or fractured. Definitely. I had something there, but it was like, crack. And I was like, oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I never heard that story, Marian. I've heard a lot of stories. That's incredible.
There are so many. They come when it's the right time, I guess, to share them.
I guess. Yeah, the other
Yeah.
thing I was thinking about in terms of, wow, in terms of healing for you, because I think, this is really an important moment, I think, for people to have access to a shamanic healer and understand your story. And like you said in the beginning, you're a human being with your own crises that come, and you've dealt with grief, immense,
Yeah. With
profound
grief,
grief.
profound, and with envy a lot.
Mm,
And it's funny, because I say, really, if people knew all what I've had to experience to be who I am,
mm,
to do what I do, yeah, it's not been easy.
mm,
Never been easy, but I chose this life and all what I've had to experience to be where I am, you
yeah.
know. But yeah, definitely, grief has been intense in these past 3 years. Very intense, really. That's what was part like of my catharsis and my conflict. Like, I'm leaving this path, I'm done, all with challenges. And half an hour later, I was laughing at myself, saying, yeah, I'm not going to leave this path. So I better get myself together, you know? So, yeah, losing, well, I guess for me and for anyone, I guess the grief and losing, like seeing, let's don't not talk about loss, but about seeing a loved one part.
Mm,
It's not an easy thing. But a son, one of your
mm,
children, I swear that is something I never thought I was going to have to experience.
yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, this is not happening. At the beginning, it's like, I don't understand. No, 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 this is not happening. Then you start realizing, yeah, this is happening. But what am I supposed to do?
Mm.
I was just like in total shock. I just, like I couldn't like cry and throw myself on the floor or anything. No, it was like I was just keeping myself together. Like I cannot
Right.
fall, I cannot faint, I cannot. I just my children, because of course I have two more children. No,
Yeah.
my son Manu was 30 and he was the middle one. So I still have my oldest son and my youngest daughter. But it was unexpected. Um, he fell, he fainted, he fell, he hit his head. He was in Colombia, he was not here. And suddenly it was like, what am I supposed to do? Waiting for what are we going to do? Like, luckily, the people for whom he was working were amazing, and they took care of everything and paid for the four of us, like his father, me, and my two children, to go to Colombia, cremate him, and bring his ashes back.
Mm.
But I had two conflicts at that moment. One, I had agreed to do an offering for a girl that I was supposed to marry, but when she comes to Peru, because her boyfriend was from Spain, I think, her father dies.
Mm.
So she comes to me and says, look, we're not going to do the wedding, but I would like to have a small ceremony for my dad with 20 people, just family and close friends, at the park near my house. So I said, okay, let's do it. And then 3 hours before that, or 4 hours before that, I received the news. But I said, what am I doing sitting here waiting? It is going to help me and help him if I do the offering for these people that also need it.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, yeah. No, the moment I stood in front of all of them, I said, well, I had to tell them what had happened, because I started crying. So I just had to tell them what had happened, and they were all like, are you sure you can make this? I said, I can. It's good. It's good for me. It's good for him. So
Yeah.
they were so nice that they included my son in the offering. And what was amazing is I am very private with my things, really, no, my personal things. And suddenly I was sharing the deepest grief ever with people I didn't know. It was the first time I was seeing them, and maybe the last. And while we were doing the offering, at the end, they told me, my son was Manuel. Everybody, we called him Manu. That the best friend of her father was a man named Manuel as well. It was like, wow.
Yeah, the medicine gave you that access to him right away.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
I mean, navigating that, I mean, the medicine doesn't keep you from grief.
No.
It keeps you from being swallowed by it, though.
Exactly. That is the word. That is the word. And then at the end of the same year, my oldest son was drugged and robbed and thrown, like with a car going. They opened his forehead. Like, it was like I could have lost my two sons in the same year, and it was like I was like, oh my God, what is going on? Then I traveled to the States in March. That was February 2019, and then December 2019. 2020, I traveled in March to Oakland, and suddenly the pandemic starts, and I had to stay here in the States with Julie Stevens, my friend, for 3 months. I couldn't come back. My daughter was alone. My son was in his, I mean, they couldn't even go out. She was alone with our dog all by herself. Yeah, and I was like, why do you continue challenging me in this way? No? Well, okay, after 3 months, I could come back. that was in May, I could come back
Mm.
at the end of May. In November, my nephew, the son of my youngest sister, passed. And it was like reliving all what had happened with my son for all of us. And then this past year, my mother passed also unexpectedly in December, and my dad 28 days after. So it was like 3 plus my cousin in the States. He was the first one to pass with COVID, like friends, so many people. So one of the things I was wondering was, what is the universe trying to teach us, humans?
Mm.
Are we having losses, or are we having to review the way we are understanding life, that it doesn't stop when we release our spirit from our physical body, that we still are connected, that we still are all one, that we don't like separate forever and disconnect forever from our loved ones that have parted. I think that has been a big lesson for all of us during the pandemic. And how to just continue living in the best way we can. Because another thing that I learned is we don't have the right not to live and be happy. Doesn't matter what has happened. We can carry grief, but we don't have to stop feeling happy and living our lives in the best way.
That's so powerful. And I've witnessed you in your deep grief. And I've witnessed you also have authentic joy and playfulness at the same time as navigating that grief. And for me, because I have access to that after 12 years of doing ceremony, among many other things that I do to make sure that I'm sane in this world, I have access to both things, and almost at the same time sometimes. Today is actually the anniversary of my father's death, 4 years ago, and also the anniversary of a very beloved young man, Teo Saraski. So I'm just calling his name, George Crowell and Teo Saraski. And maybe those of you in the audience can call the names of your loved ones. They are here. They're with us. They're giving us so much. They're waiting to be connected with, to bring them into our lives, to have them be in the circle of the living, because they're so much alive. And it's so... it doesn't mean that we don't grieve them not being here in bodies.
We
Grief
miss
is part of this life.
We do miss the physical presence or the plans we had that we were supposed to share. But again, like that year we were supposed to go to Machu Picchu with my son because he had never been there. I said, okay, as our birthday was the same day, on May 7th, I said, let's go for our birthday with all my children to Machu Picchu. We didn't get to do it, so last year we went with my children for my birthday and his birthday. I gave an offering in Machu Picchu for him, and it's like we went through with a promise. Even though he's not physically here, he was with us there, right?
Very present, and he comes around the ceremonies all the time.
Oh, yes.
He's very lovely, and he was a singer. He had this gorgeous voice, and he's present. He's so present and so delightful to have in the spaces. Thank you for sharing about him and about how you're navigating that space and being a human being and being a powerful healer at the same time.
Well, that was a challenge too, like when that happens, I was saying to myself, oh my God, how am I supposed to stand in front of everyone with my grief as a healer? Because I am a mother, of course. And I have the right to feel whatever I need to feel as a mother. But how do I stand in front of everyone and show them I learned what I learned and that I have to practice it at that deep grieving moment. I know so much more of what life is and how life, or an afterlife, if you want to call it. So it was a challenge, like how to stand as a healer, in integrity and like without disintegrating with the grief,
Yeah.
right? But again, doing what I do helps me heal as well, and gives me the strength to continue walking. And again, I can have my crisis when I feel like I'm overwhelmed with all the challenges and tests, and I have the right to. But again, I have the medicine. I take it. I deal with myself, and then I come back to balance, to my center again. Right. So those who think, so many people, they envy, and that's why do you envy? We are all unique. We are all special. We are all beautiful. So what we need to do is to find our essence and just let it shine. I cannot be you. You cannot be me, but you are me and I am you. Where's the difference? Who is better? Who is worse? Nobody. We're all perfect as we are. Right? So, well, I don't know if we have questions from the public. Hernan,
Yeah, I've
or
been looking in the
Agustin?
chat. I don't see any chat, but
Yeah, I don't
if there are
see.
questions, we'd love to. I've been feeding you questions, and I love
Yeah,
having conversation with you. And if
yeah.
people have questions from our audience, please give them to us as we continue to converse. But we just have a few more minutes, and I know that, and we hope that many of you have stayed for this full conversation, because as I experience this conversation, Marianne, I feel myself spiraling deeper into myself, which is always the case in your presence and with the medicine. And I'm always with the medicine, as you've shared. But yes, our audience, thank you for being here with us. And if there are no questions, I mean, I could talk to you all day, but is there anything else, Marianne, before we let you go, that you would want to share? And before that final thing, just so you know, if you want to get in touch with Marianne Eddowes, who is an ecstatic shamanic healer, her WhatsApp number, she's willing to give you her WhatsApp number. It's +51, because that's the Peruvian
Peru.
code, and then 987-106-787. So I'm going to repeat that: +51 987-106-787. And I have a question. It says, I have a thank you both for beautiful teaching. My deepest respect and love. That is from Sierra. Thank you so much,
Yeah. My beautiful
Sierra.
friend from Vermont. She's a beautiful
Vermont.
fairy.
Thank you
And
so much for
also works with
listening.
Wachuma. Yeah, she also has been
Beautiful.
working with medicine. Interesting. No questions. Agustin, Hernan, there are no questions that we're not seeing.
Perhaps we've
Because we
answered
can
all of
continue
them.
talking if you want. We always can talk.
That's right. I mean, I was going to ask you this one silly thing, because we went into grief and navigating grief with the medicine, and I was thinking, like, what's your favorite story about traveling with the medicine in airports? Because I know you've brought like massive amounts of Wachuma through airports, and I know you've done a lot of advocacy work around legalizing coca as a medicine. And I don't know, you have a favorite story? I know I've heard some of them, but being in airports with massive
Yeah.
amounts of medicine, like navigating the challenges is really part of it. It's like we're here
Yeah.
to like navigate challenges with grace, right?
Yeah. Well, the medicine, when you're in the healing path, you have people, oh, sorry, I just went away. I was watching somebody peeping into your.
I know. That was distracting.
Yeah.
That's what live like event in your own house can do.
You know, it's not easy.
Maybe I'm gonna have to answer.
There's again.
There are some questions. This is my housemate and dear friend Karen, and she said there are some questions. Let's see. Oh, okay. Do you mind if I ask them the questions to you here?
Please. Yeah.
What age do you feel is okay to introduce this medicine?
Okay.
Thanks, Karen. I want to just have a seat over here, hang out with them, and then I'll see this. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Karen.
He says, thank you so much, Karen. Is that the only question?
Microdosing in that, yeah.
Microdosing and ceremony. What age is appropriate? Thanks, Karen. Boom.
Okay, so I had people since 7 years old, like children, microdosing. For example, if an adult microdoses 2 capsules together or 1 teaspoon, I would give half a teaspoon or 1 capsule to the child. And it's amazing because they are so, you know, like open, and they don't have all the loads we carry when we become adults and we haven't worked things through. So yeah, in a week, they are like, they understood, they are clear, they even saw the condor or had dreams, and it's like amazing. Adolescents, I mean, I even have people over 80 years old microdosing as well, or even I've had an 80-year-old man, remember, this German man that was 80 and took medicine for the first time with us at Christina's, at the casita.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's for everyone, used in the right doses and for the right purposes, right? Like at the beginning, I had, you know, young people, Burning Man people that, they want a lot of medicine, no? And I was like, I don't give super trips. I give medicine for healing. That's what I can offer. So some at the beginning were, I need more, I don't feel anything, I need, but they were talking, they were laughing. No, I remember these people in South Carolina. We were in the house of one of them. It was like 13 people and the men mostly. I don't feel. Okay, you want another one? Yeah. They for 3 doses. And I was like, you don't need it, but if you want it, you know, it was like, okay, get the lesson out of it, no? And I said, it's not about drinking a lot. It's about connecting with the spirit of the medicine. But for that, you need to be silent, stop laughing, and stop talking, and just let the medicine talk to you or help you feel and see what you need to see. No, the following day, and I love how the medicine works, you know? So, okay, 3, take 3. The following day, only 1, please. Enough. That's enough. Like they got the lesson. Great. I like that, you know?
Well, I think the follow-up for me, actually, and I had this question in the back of my head too, before my lovely Karen friend came down here to tell about the thing that's in the chat, which is, you've talked about pregnant women and helping the medicine helping women to get pregnant, but also you've talked in ceremonies with me about pregnant women taking the medicine and having what you call Wachuma babies. Yes. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yes. Well, my daughter, Kiara, she's 23 now. She is a Wachuma baby. But I had 2 miscarriages before she came. And the first miscarriage, I was already taking medicine. So I was, why did this happen? Physically, I have no problems. And it showed me that she was coming, that it was a girl, that I had to heal and release some fears and heal my relationship with my sons. I was a little more crazy and hysterical and all that when I was a corporate woman. And that's how, and that she was coming to close the circle of love. But for that, I needed to fix those things, no? And that's why she was leaving like 2 months after I started the pregnancy. It stopped twice. And then she came in 1999. So 5 years after I saw, that was the first time the plant showed me the future.
Wow.
Showed me my daughter and my children that were older at that moment, and they were smaller, and a dog we didn't have, but we had before she was born. So it was like super clear. My best friend from school, she's not in this path. She respects it, but it's like she doesn't understand what I understand. So I was always saying, it's a girl, it's a girl, it's a girl. And then the day I gave birth, she comes to the clinic to visit, to the hospital. And the first thing she says is, oh my God, I'm so glad it's a girl. I said, you didn't believe me. I knew it was a girl because the plant had already showed me it was a girl.
And how is Kiara? Like, how is she a
Well,
Wachuma baby? Like, what is it like to
yeah.
have a Wachuma baby?
Well, the Wachuma babies are amazing, really. They are born with a different energy. Why? First, because when you microdose through the pregnancy, it helps you go through the processes as a woman that you have to go through in a better way, in an easier way, and less conflict with yourself, like, physically, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. Like, everything changes for a woman when we are creating space for a new life. It's not an easy process. It's beautiful, but it's also uncomfortable. I mean, you have a little of everything, right? So Wachuma helps you really enjoy your pregnancy, even though you have, some other things. And again, if there are some physical issues, you will get over them easier as well, because you are processing what is causing those physical issues that is inside you. Right? Like, I have this girl that came to me and said, I want a baby boy. She already had one girl. And I said, I saw she was going to have it, but she had to find out by herself. Like, it was not me telling her, yes, you're going to have a baby boy. So I said, well, why don't you do what I did? I told her, my case with my daughter, said, microdose for 3 months, and then come and let's do Wachuma and sweat lodge. And we'll see what the medicine shows you, like it showed me. The first thing when we started the sweat lodge, one of the stones that came in, the baby boy, on one of the grandmother's stones. And there was a German friend there that had no idea of anything, and he saw it, and she saw it, and she had it. And she microdosed all through the pregnancy, and now she has 4, and she's microdosed for the last 3, like all through the pregnancy, no? Like, and then there's a woman that for 15 years was trying to become pregnant. In a week in Cusco, drinking the medicine, she became pregnant, and she has an adult boy, no?
And what you've told me about the Wachuma babies, the young ones that come through, there's a wisdom, there's a peace, there's that
like,
detached, the spiritual detachment,
yes.
creativity.
Yeah, like
energy.
my daughter, she is super, like, peaceful, sweet, soft, gentle.
Good boundaries too.
Good boundaries. She's never like fought, quarreled, like I used to do when I was her age. No, like she has taught me to soften a lot, really. Because she's like that, and she's always been like that. Like, everybody loves her. So, and in general, all the babies that come through Wachuma, they are amazing. This girl that had 3 babies, one of them is another girl, and when she was 6 months, they gave him a shot of vaccine for something at 6 months, and she had a really bad reaction.
Mm.
So she said, please help me, because she's at the hospital. They say she has meningitis, da da da. And so I checked and I said, no, it's a vaccine. So they were going to do terrible things to her, thinking she had something she didn't, no, because they didn't want to accept that it was a vaccine. So they fought and they had to recognize it was a vaccine. And I told her, your baby is a Wachuma baby. She doesn't like chemicals in her body. It was very interesting what the baby showed me. So I helped. I took her to the Temple of the Green Ray. I asked for help to the Doctors of Light, and she went out to the hospital, and she's doing great.
That's really great. And for those of you who have, I mean, there's so much controversy about the COVID vaccine and vaccines in general now because of COVID. And I remember when I was, you know, when the vaccine had just come out and I was conflicted about whether to take it or not. I asked the medicine. I asked spirit and I asked the medicine, and the medicine said, if you see it as golden light coming into your body, it will be a healing force.
That's
and
what
it was
I,
that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
did that too. That came to me. And then I received information that somebody had channeled from Crowell, saying exactly that. Those who don't want the vaccine, like, this is what you have to do. Those who need the vaccine but don't want it, this is the way you have to do. Like, and I had done exactly what Crowell was telling we should do. Because yes, we are light. If we are divine essence, why shouldn't we be able to restructure our DNA, everything? We can.
Right.
No? So
yeah, and it's like our belief systems and our collective conscious also matter. And so how do we live in a world that has Western medicine and what's called alternative medicine? How do we live in those spaces side by side? And for me, because I have a foot in both spaces, and I think most of us do, especially anyone who's at this gathering has connection or desire to be connected to alternative ways of living. It's like, if we have our foot in both places, how do we negotiate that? And really, it's with the same energy that we're talking about relative to Wachuma. It's tenderness, it's conscious, it's being conscious about what we're doing and seeing the energy of the vaccine as the energy of light and love, right? And healing. Like, if it's that, then I can go, yes, I have a vaccine and I feel protected. You know, from all the different spaces.
Yeah. And again, it's about not fearing. We attract what we fear. That is what we have to understand. We are that powerful. Our mind is that powerful. So we have to be careful of what we're thinking, what we're saying, because that's a decree, and so on. So I think there was a question about microdosing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll talk a little about microdosing. Why microdose? Because first, we don't have access necessarily to ceremony all the time. Two, for me, either starting with microdosing or continuing with it is good, before or after doing ceremony. In which cases I would suggest you microdose before thinking of doing ceremony, when you have deep trauma, deep fears. I prefer them to start in a subtle way with the medicine, peeling layers. And when they have peeled some of those layers, they come to ceremony and they open better and easier to do a deeper job with the medicine, like the quantum leap, which is a ceremony, right? That is one of the things that I find very useful. The other is to continue the process you have started with ceremony. because sometimes people do ceremony, they get back home, they feel well 1 week, and then they let themselves be dragged into, lower vibration energies of whatever they are experiencing, etc. And as I tell them, when you remember how you felt during ceremony, you can go back to that space, right? And microdosing is a good way to keep in that space and continue delving into that subconscious stuff to bring balance into your life and clarity and peace and joy, right? So microdosing for me is really a very useful way to work with the medicine for different reasons. Microdosing also for pregnancy, to become pregnant, microdosing to do the pregnancy in a good way. It's beautiful because you connect with the baby better. And if the husband or the partner, wife, wants to like get more involved, they can both microdose, and the baby is going to feel all that love, that vibration. And because the babies in our womb feel everything we feel as mothers. They listen to how they talk to us. They feel if they ill treat us. They feel everything. And that's how the ways in which they are born. Like I can see the difference with my first son, my second son, and my daughter, my how I was at that time in my life, what they inherited from me,
Mm.
you know.
And then there's humility again.
And it's like, okay, let's do this better now. No? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well,
I have,
we learn. What is important is that we learn and that we are not fooling ourselves, lying to ourselves, saying, I'm doing good. Are you sure? Because what I see is not exactly good, right? But again, you cannot push people that do not want to do the work for themselves. We can help, but if the person doesn't want to help herself or himself, there is little we can do to help them go faster into a better space, right?
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about your experience of microdosing with Wachuma.
Yeah, absolutely. And we only have a couple more minutes, so I'm happy to share just a little bit. But
Sure.
I've definitely microdosed on and off for the last, say, 7 or 8 years. And for me, it's true. It like sort of, it's like the little, like if there's a big rushing river, that's the ceremony, that's the revelation, that's the past life experience or the visions or whatever. That these are like little tributaries. They help keep connected to the big experience. And also, there's this subtle, I have like as a Western minded person, like happiness, I'm suspect of happiness. Like it's too simple. And what it does is it removes that sort of skepticism from my spiritual practice and my spiritual process and says, happiness is actually a really good goal to have, like a good space. That it does, and it doesn't have to be so complicated, and it softens the edges, the sharp edges of Western reality for me. That's what it does for me. It softens, it reconnects me to the revelations of my full ceremonies, and it helps me remember my patience. We're returning because we're wrapping up, but it's like patience, creativity. This is what you're talking about in the beginning when you're sharing the sort of qualities of the medicine and what it invokes in us. A tenderness with ourselves and with others, a clarity, and that clarity, which translates to boundaries a lot of times for Western people, because we are like, either we're too strict with boundaries or we just let everybody run all over us. That's like, what's in between? It creates that feeling of tenderness, clarity, boundaries, presence. It's amazing. And so are you, my sister.
Likewise.
And I'm so grateful for this time, and everyone, thank you for joining us today. And I know that we have to wrap. It's been a couple of hours, and wow, it just has flown by. Wachuma as a sacred medicine, and once again, our thanks to Agustin Guzman for organizing this, and Marianne, thank you for inviting me to be in conversation with you. What an honor! And for those of you who want to reach Marianne, again, she is giving you her WhatsApp number, plus 51 with great boundaries and clarity, plus 51 987 106 787. Blessings, blessings, and breath.
Thank you so much,
I love
sister.
you.
So beautiful to share this with you. Thank you for all your feedback and to everyone that has been part of these 2 hours accompanying us. Love you all, sisters and brothers from all over the world. And hopefully we can be together at some point. Agustin and
Yes.
Hernan and Jenny, thank you so much for your support. And Agustin, continue doing these beautiful conferences. Maybe we can do a round table with 4 women from Oakland or from the East Coast that have done Wachuma, and that you can talk about your experience in your own healing. That could be a nice thing to do next time.
Good idea.
So Agustin and Hernan, you let us know if we are closing.
Thank you, everyone.
Agustin.
Okay, thank you.
Hernan.
Bye bye. Thank you for all the special conference, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Good weekend to everyone. Love you. Mwah. Ok, estamos.